in order. We'll ask this young lady to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. First on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Up next is recognition. We'll turn it over to Dr. Austin.
Mr. Chairman. If you look at the screen on your right, you probably saw some displays as you were coming in. This is to recognize some students for work that they submitted to the Kingsport Times News drawing card contest. And then we'll also recognize some students for the write-on contest. So first up, from Dryden Elementary, we have Christian Baker. Who must be playing at Flatwoods tonight. Heath Kane. Peyton Cox. Henry Crabtree. Brianna Ely. Sophia Flannery. Thomas Foltz. Mickey Galloway. Easton Hill. Tabitha Johnson. Emily Jones. Mike. Okay. Rachel Huff. Emily Jones. Micah Kelly. Gavin Lambert. Maverick Lawson. Aslan Napper. Cadence Newton. Kennedy Nimity. Kennedy, did I spell that? Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay. Mackenzie Oliver. Jayla Phillips. Zoe Powers. Trinity Roach. Bethany Rutledge. Harper Smith. You guys want to scoot down? Brandon Spivey. Nathan Starrett. Brooklyn Taylor. Kimberlyn Taylor. Colin Underwood. Austin Troxel. Malachi Wilder. Ryder Wooliver. And Peyton Woodard. Okay, and from Elknaw, we have Zeke Barnett, Braylon Langley, Emily Robbins, Chloe Smith, and Cameron Zell. Okay, from Elydale, Landon Dyke, Rachel Eldridge, Matthew Jackson. Matthew Jackson. Xander Lowe. Parker Jackson. Xander Lowe. Jacob McCurry. Kiera Redden. Emily Smith. Austin Tidmore. Jeremy Walden. And Eli Williams.
Got one right there, Parker Jackson.
Parker Jackson.
Parker Jackson, he's here, yes.
Parker Jackson. Come on. From Flatwoods Elementary, Allie Jones. From Jonesville Middle, Kate Blakemore. Jace Cochran. Tanner Epperly. Jimmy Ritchie. Bella Rouse. And Shirley Washburn. Okay, for the write-on portion of this, from Healyville Elementary, Elizabeth Dixon, Jacob Eldridge, Kiera Redden, Danton Saylor, Savannah Seal, Katie Shelby, Emily Smith, Brianna Spencer, Emily Warren, from Jonesville Middle, Waylon Ball, Tatum Cox, Jacob Eldridge, Kaylee Ellis, Nicole Fee, Caitlin Hamilton, Riley Harbor, Hayden Hobbs, Emily Kirk, CJ Markham, Lexi McKnight, Kaylin Pendergraft, and Kylie Phillips. Let's give these students a round of applause. We're going to take a quick picture.
On the agenda is public comment. We'll move forward into public comment. Do we have any public comment?
They said that Katie didn't get a call.
If not, we'll move to consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve it?
We got to do the rest of it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? Yes, we did. I'm
The
wrong.
St. Charles.
We'll back up and finish recognition. I'm moving a little quick.
Okay, two things. First of all, I wanted to recognize St. Charles Elementary, Kelly Leonard and her staff, as well as the faculty there. The Department of Education notified us this month that they have moved from the third tier recognition up to that they recognized in September up to the second tier. And as you can see from the award, they've got a Board of Education Excellence Award as opposed to the Distinguished Achievement Award. So that's a great accomplishment for that community as well as for those teachers and Ms. Leonard. So there were only 147 schools in the Commonwealth that were recognized with this distinction. So it speaks volumes for the efforts that are put forth at that school. Next up, wanted to recognize from Jonesville Middle some poster contest winners. We have Chloe Willis. Is Chloe with us this evening? First place, as well as Emma Fortner and Bella Rouse. Either of those ladies here? Okay, back to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we'll move back to public comment. Before we do, Did you all miss the recognition part? Okay, just bring them right on up here. Let's
If you,
take
I was gonna
those.
say, you don't want to comment. All right, if you all come over here, I'll get your certificate for you. So, congratulations. Kimberly, last name? Taylor. Taylor. Nice to meet you. How are you? Okay, we'll school with you.
Do we have any public comment tonight? If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda consisting of the following: approval of minutes from the September 12th special call meeting, September 18th special call meeting, September 26th special call meeting, October 3rd special call meeting, October 12th regular meeting, and October 16th special call meeting. Approval of claims and expenditures. Approval of field trips, Lee High School to the Universal Studios, Walt Disney World, and Thomas Walker National Farm Machinery Show in Louisville, Kentucky. Approval of resolution to amend and restate the Lee County Public School 403B plan for eligible employees, and approval of Title IV Part A Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is reports of the board. Do we have any reports from the board?
Just as you can see, at next week's convention, there are 10 proposed legislative changes and a bylaw change, and if anybody's interested in something more than the descriptor there, I have it here. There is one I will make a note of, and that's position number 10, that I think it would be extremely beneficial if it were to pass, not just VSD passing it, I'll put it that way.
Any other reports from the board? If not, we'll move to reports from the division of the superintendent.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, first of all, I want to recognize the schools last month that had the best attendance. Second place was Elydale with 94.58. As you can see, we've had some close months, but we actually had two schools tie last month, and that would be Elk Knob and Jonesville with a very nice, almost 95% attendance rate. So attendance continues to be a focus of administration and teachers, again, because we've talked about that if we can get the students in the seats, we know that our teachers will do a great job teaching. Update on enrollment. Enrollment is down a little bit from last month. We had 3,072 students last month, 3,060 this month. It's up 27 students from this time last year, which is good, but as you're aware, we built a budget on 3,050 students, so we're still over budget on revenues, but we're continuing to monitor that. No real reason as to why we lost 12 students other than just some shifts between schools, and we're continuing to monitor that. Next up is an update on the comprehensive plan. We continue to use that as a guidance document for everything that we do. Of course, it ends this year, so we will be working on this in the spring to develop the 1925 comprehensive plan. So just wanted to make you aware of that as we start working on that in the spring. We will be involving you. May ask a couple of you to serve on that committee once we get into reorganization in January. Next up, school audit. Thrower, Blanton and Associates completed their audits of the school books. As you can see from the memo from Mr. Dean, everything was in line and everything presented fairly. There's some procedural items that we're going to be working with some of the schools on, but nothing that was, I will say, of material concern was the phrase that we got from Thrower Blanton. Lastly, an operations update. These are the items that Mr. Early and his staff work on a regular basis, and it's an update showing you what has been done at each school last month. So that information is available, and I'm not going to read it to you, but any questions? Okay, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business tonight? If not, next is action and discussion. Item A, action if any to approve the disposal of surplus property for school board policy DN, disposal of surplus items. Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve disposal of surplus property for SBPD and disposal of surplus items.
Motion's been made, I'll second it. Do we have any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is B, first review of 2018-19 school calendar. Can we touch on this?
We warned you last month that we were going to start working on this. We worked with both administration, principals, and both communication committees last month to have a draft to you. The draft is available online as well as a poll. We polled members of staff to determine the one option is to shorten spring break as it's proposed and end school on May the 17th. And then the other option is to leave a week at spring break and end the school year on May 21st. So those are the two options we polled staff on. We had 257 responses, and it was 51% to leave it as is, 49% to change, shorten spring break and shorten the school year. So 51-49, we're going to open this up to the public unless you as a board would like something different, and anticipate coming back to you next month with a proposed calendar for your consideration. Again, we will continue working with committees, but get some public feedback on a poll. Any questions? No action necessary this evening, just an update. So,
All right, next is C, action if any to request the Board of Supervisors to reappropriate the reappropriation of $1,883,952 in state revenues from fiscal year 17 to fiscal year 2018. We have a motion on item C or discussion, I'm sorry. Do we have a motion?
if you want me to speak to it, this is a little bit less than $1.1 million. This is money that we received that we did not spend either in excess revenue or underspent expenditures. There's some details there of the actual year-end reports. And you can see from the summary of the reappropriation, administration recommends setting the priority on reappropriation of this being set in facilities. So almost $1.1 million appropriated in facilities to address needs. So that's what we're recommending and would like to take to the Board of Supervisors for their consideration later this month.
I make a motion that we request the Board of Supervisors to reapportionment of $1,083,952 in state revenue from fiscal year 17 to fiscal year 18.
I second.
Motion's been made with a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is D, action if any to request the Lee County Board of Supervisors transfer of $51,769 to the Lee County School Board Capital Reserve Fund. Dr. Ross, we will touch on that.
This is an agreement between the Board of Supervisors and the school board. There's a related school board policy as well as a resolution that the Board of Supervisors did last year. They appropriated approximately $4.5 million for us during the last fiscal year. And the final calculation when everything was turned in June, keep in mind our budget is built in May of 16. These final calculations come in June of 17. So 15 months later, it ended up being that they only had to appropriate like $4,464,000-ish. So that ended up being a difference of a little less than $78,000. So that falls under the 2/3, 1/3 conversation. So this is requesting almost $52,000 be placed in the capital reserve. You'll also notice that Treasurer transferred $4.7 billion in operating money, requesting the Board of Supervisors to let us return that to them in entirety because that was above what was budgeted in the first place. So there's the differences that are showing. So this is a request of the difference between what was budgeted versus the actual required local effort and returning that back to the Board of Supervisors, but requesting a 2/3, 1/3 split to the capital reserve. Any questions?
Any reason for it being more than it should be?
On the budgeted side compared to final?
On the what came from the county into the schools?
No, sir. The difference typically is, again, projections, the 4.5, the 4,542,000 that was budgeted was a projection, and a lot of times the SOQ changes, but I don't have a reason as to why it was 4.7 was appropriated.
Did you ask?
I have met with county administrator.
And
It doesn't have an answer.
okay.
I mean, I don't think we would turn it down if they decided to get it to us, but, you know, that's
And
not,
my
at this point, you know,
Yeah.
they gave
I'll
us
make
more than,
that-
they gave us more than they had to, so.
Motion's been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next is board comments. Do we have any board comments tonight?
I'd like to offer the condolences to the family of Sandra Calvin and the loss of her daughter. Sandra was a paraprofessional at Lehigh for several years. And I think a few of these other things that some of you others may, I don't know, the JV girls down at Thomas Walker, the JV girls at Lehigh. I'll let you all get into the detail on that, and the varsity girls. Next week is American Education Week, and I want to express my gratitude and thanks for the job that our staff people do for the students of Lee County, and offer my congratulations to St. Charles for their achievement.
Thank you, Ms. Jessie. Anybody else? Board comments? I'd like to congratulate, like Ms. Jessie was saying, the JV girls at Thomas Walker, the volleyball team. They went undefeated, 17-0, won the Cumberland District Championship. First time in a while that's happened. Also, our football team's going into playoffs tomorrow night, playing Patrick Henry, first round playoffs. Very proud of both of those teams. Also, cross-country recognition. We have all-district Colin Cave, Chris Britton, and Ashley Crumley, and all-district Region D, Chris Britton. And I just want to say congratulations. Those guys work very hard. Thomas Walker, a lot of good things happening right now at that school, in my opinion. But just want to bring those to mention. Am I missing anything?
Not right now.
Okay. She's a little better at it than I am sometimes of keeping it up, but I'm very excited to see the future of what's going to happen sports-wise, academic-wise at that school. Any other board comment?
I too would like to congratulate St. Charles Elementary on their Education of Excellence Award, and also Lehigh volleyball team had a good season. The Lee County FFA went and competed last week and done very well. I think we're going to have something here next meeting to recognize all of those that participated in that. I'm very proud of Thomas Walker football team. They've had a great season, and like Mike said, are heading to the first playoff game Friday night. So things are going great for Lee County schools. And you know, we just had the election, and we let the county vote, and they spoke, and that's fine. You know, it's a county thing, and we're all in this together, I hope, and to do what's best for the county, and we'll just press on and figure out what we can do with what we have, and not ignore the problems that we do have.
I want to follow up on what Ms. Fannin just said. Did have a vote on Tuesday. The voters voted down the referendum. That's the way it should work in this country. You give people a chance to vote and to give their opinion and give their input, and they don't always agree with your side of it. It's a lot easier to get something passed if you close the process and don't let everybody get involved. But we didn't want to do that, so we asked the Board of Supervisors to allow a referendum to give everybody a voice, and they've spoken. We're still going to move forward with some things. Obviously, we can't do what we wanted to, but we've identified a lot of problems and a lot of issues with our facilities, so we've got to do something to correct those problems. We're going to do as much as we can with what resources we have, which isn't a lot. We're going to do what we can and try to get at what everybody calls a Plan B. So we'll be giving more information on that in future dates.
All right, do we have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we go into closed session to discuss personnel, Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A1, and to discuss pending and threatened litigation, Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A7.
Motion been made, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now in closed session.